nothing about outlaw bikers.
Really?
Nothing. So, and I remember driving from Savannah up to Atlanta, calling my buddy who did ride Harleys up north and saying, hey, bro, on a Harley, is it, when you shift, is it one down and then four up? And he was like, dude, what are you getting yourself into, man? And so I get there, and there was 2 informants and the ATF undercover guy. And, you know, the informants were big biker dudes. And they give me this chopper, right? It was a hardtail, raked out chopper. And, bro, I didn't know anything, let alone how to start this thing. So right off the bat, they're like, hey, follow us. We're going to the clubhouse. This is my first day. So it was nighttime. It was kind of misting. It's North Georgia mountains. And they take off, and all I'm seeing is taillights. I'm trying to keep up. And I go into a turn. I dump the bike.
Oh, fuck.
I slide about 50 yards into a ditch. And, you know, I mean, I'm all, you know, road cut up and all that. And
Have you ever dropped a bike before?
no, I'd only ridden a bike for a couple months.
Holy shit.
So by the time they figured out I wasn't behind them and they came back, the big informant who never liked me, he looks at me and he looks at the undercover guy and he says, you want us to take this motherfucker into the Outlaws Clubhouse? He can't even ride a fucking motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
So when I heard that, I was like, you know what? Nah. I picked my shit up and I bent the mirrors back, and, you know, they helped me get the bike out of the ditch. And I said, let's go. You know, so at least I won their respect.
Yeah.
Even though all I wanted to do was go home.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
So anyway, we get to this clubhouse, and I don't know if you've ever been in a 1%er clubhouse, but they're very intimidating.
Yep.
Right? I had never seen anything like it, and again, I knew nothing about
Can
it.
you explain why they're intimidating?
So you got a bunch of big, scary-looking dudes who are bad guys. The place is dirty. It's dark. There's just a general feeling of evil about it. That's how it was for me. Just I felt like, man, bad things have definitely happened in this place, and are probably going to happen again.
Yeah.
So when we went in there, you know, and I had no coaching or training or anything, I stood there against the wall, okay, for about 45 minutes. I didn't say a word. I just stood there. And I watched these guys, and I watched how they carried themselves and how they interacted. And I could tell right away who the president was by the way they were talking to him, you know, and acting with him. So after about 45 minutes, I walked up to the president, and I introduced myself, and I called him sir. I said, sir, I don't know anything about your culture, and I don't know anything about your rules, and I certainly don't want to offend you or anyone else. I just want to learn. I want to become one of you someday. And I want you to teach me. I want to learn. So I kind of appealed to his ego.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
And he saw this big gorilla that he could mold.
Yeah.
And he loved that. And I became his favorite guy. He took
Wow.
me under his wing, which made that informant hate me even more.
How about the
after
other
that.
agent? Or the guy from the sheriff's department?
So he was out.
Okay, he was gone,
the other
okay.
agent was in, and so that kind of made everything easier for me in that case, because this guy had taken me under his wing. And now if I had gone in there and acted like a tough guy right off the bat, they would have sniffed me out right away.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's no way I was pulling the wool over their eyes. So that was my first lesson in working undercover, how to carry myself. Don't go in there as a tough guy. You know, don't go in there pounding your chest, because they're going to sniff you out, or they're going to call your bluff.
Yeah. You know, just talk a little bit about kind of how you came up and what made you sort of make the decision in the first place to law enforcement, and how the ATF kind of came into your life.
Yeah, I came up totally normal, you know, with a good Italian family, playing sports, and you know, I went to college, and I had no direction in my life.
Did you play football?
I played football, yeah, Lafayette College, Division I AA powerhouse.
Yep.
And so when I got out of college, I was useless, right? I had a degree in business and economics with like a 2.1 cum, and no direction in my life. So I took a job at a bank making $8 an hour in a room with no windows, putting computer printouts into files. And I just got a phone call one day from a guy I played ball with. He was down in the Bronx. He said, you sound miserable. He goes, come on down and visit. So I went down there to visit him, and I didn't even know he had a brother. And so we're sitting on the stoop, and this guy pulls up in a Corvette, and he gets out, and he's the coolest looking motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. back then, remember, this is Miami Vice days, right? He had the kind of fan back long hair, and he's wearing an open shirt, and he had a Beretta 92F stuck in his waistband there. And I'm looking, I'm like, man, this is a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
Right? And he walks in, and it turns out he was a DEA agent. He had just gotten back from Peru, I believe, and he was working some undercover. And we sat down, we had a beer, and he talked to me for about 30 minutes about what he did. And it was like the skies opened up. And I found my direction right then. I wanted to be an undercover agent.
What was it specifically? I mean, besides him just looking like a cool motherfucker, was there anything that he said? Was there anything that made you think, shit, I could do this well?
So it was the concept. It was the concept he talked about of the game. So it's kind of your skill against their skill, right? If you're better than them, they're going to prison, right? If they're better than you, they're going to sniff you out, right? Things might end bad for you, or you're just going to have to walk. But it was that concept of the challenge and of the game, right? To see, who's got better skill. And in the end, if you win, right, you've done something good, right? You've taken a violent, bad person off the street, someone who's putting, guns out on the street, or, large quantities of dangerous drugs or whatever it is. So I loved that it was kind of almost a sport, right?
Yeah.
Especially
at a time you're working at a bank and you don't have those stakes, and you're just that fucking, college football player, everything's kind of on the line, living fully.
Yep.
And then you're in this where it's just kind of getting stale. You knew that wasn't for you.
Dude, I mean, thinking about like doing that for the rest of my life was miserable.
Yeah.
So when I heard about this, and I could just see it in his eyes when he was talking to me, like the passion, and I found that, and I said, man, this is what I want to do. I didn't want to be a uniformed cop. Law enforcement was never even on my radar, but the thought of being an undercover agent, it just appealed to me, and that was it. And as you know, you don't just become an undercover agent,
Sure.
right? You pay your dues, and from that point, by the time I was able to get hired and work through, it was probably 8 years before I started actually working undercover. But once I did, that was it.
I have a guy who's really, really close to me. He's a career undercover guy down in Shreveport, Louisiana. A guy named Carl Townley, who's just we've gotten enormously close over the past 12 years. And one thing he always talks about is sort of like this fine line. He always says, like, look, man, if I didn't become a cop, I would have been a criminal. He was like, and one thing that he always talks about is that, like, it's one word for it is maybe empathy, one word for it is maybe respect, but that you see people just because they're on the other side of the field, you see people and you see the situation that they came up in, and you actually start feeling for them and you start caring about them, and I really we'll talk about that eventually, about like sort of betrayal and what that feels like for you. But why did you know you'd be good at it?
I always had that hustler in me, that hustle. Whether it was just trying to make extra money or whatever it was, I was good at it. I was good at talking to people. I was good at going into a bar. And this is something I've always said, and it's super corny, but it really is true. If you have game, if you're that guy who can go into a bar and you're not like some Brad Pitt looking dude, and you can pull the hottest chick out of that bar,
sure,
you're going to be good at undercover. You have some natural game.
Yeah.
I could bring my crew in here of guys, and none of them look like Brad Pitt, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And they would sit here, and it would look like, prison just got out.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, all these guys, they're phenomenal skills. First thing you'll notice about them is that, wow, these are really smart guys. Like, after you get past what they look like, these guys are really smart. And then you see their game. These guys got game. And those guys, in their younger days were always guys who could pull the hottest chick out of a bar, even though they weren't the best looking dude in that bar.
Sure.
They knew what to say.
Game? Like, what, in your words, what is game?
Knowing what to say, when to say it, knowing what not to say.
Yeah.
Right? That's game. It's like selling a car.
Yeah.
Right? That person wants to buy the car, right? But they want the best price. There's all these factors you got to put in. So you have to know what to say to them, when to say it, and how to get that money out of their pocket.
Yeah.
How to make a sale.
Sure.
That's game, man. And that's what you're doing working undercover. You're just making a sale. I'm selling you my load of shit.
Yeah.
My hustle. I'm selling it to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can do that, you can be a successful undercover agent.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's John, Bam Bam the dog. First, on behalf of both of us and everybody from the Real Ones team, I just want to sincerely thank you guys for tuning in. The folks that I bring on the show,
They're family to me, and being able to tell their stories and bringing you into their world is something I'm just super proud of, and again, grateful that you guys tune in. We've decided we want to take things just a step further. It's a Patreon community. And basically what that means is if you become a part of this community, look, I already bored Bam Bam. If you want to become a part of this community, you're going to be able to hear episodes early and all that, ad-free and all that good stuff. But there's all this behind-the-scenes footage, all this stuff that we've shot that really brings you into the folks that we've had on the show, really brings you into their world. Live chats with me and the folks that I bring on the show to talk about their world, talk about the issues that they're dealing with, about their triumphs and their tragedies. Just go to Patreon/Real Ones on this website that you see right there, right on the screen, that's right in front of you. This whole idea was something about building bridges and bringing people together and bringing folks that often don't get the mic and giving the mic to them. So the fact that you guys tune in means the world. Anyways, again, thank you. Be good to each other out there. Rock and roll.